All right, good evening, good evening, good evening. It's your man, God of Dots, man. We are back live and in living color. Hope everybody had a very, very good weekend. I hope you're having a very good start to your week, man. We are live, and got a lot to talk about. A little bit of housekeeping before we kind of get started. How you doing, Teresa? A little housekeeping before we kind of get started for tonight's show. Probably pushing. Hold on. Let me do a sneak peek because I got to see who is the Thursday night game? Because I almost missed out on a good one right up here running my mouth last week. Got Rams and Niners. Oh, I might have to, might have to move the Thursday show to Wednesday. So yeah, we might be doing that. If not, it'll be on Thursday. And of course, we're gonna be doing KBK on Friday. So make sure you tune in for that. Let me come back over here as I kind of get ready to do my little spiel. Let's see. Nikki, how you doing? Eucalyptus. The Eagles are fine. Woo, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about how you doing, beautiful. How you doing? Yeah, we're gonna talk about. In fact, we're gonna start the show off with that Eucalyptus. Definitely got to talk about what's going on in Philadelphia. Philadelphia coming off a very close win against the Carolina Panthers in the game. Honestly, shouldn't have been that close. And if you watch the game, you would think it was two evenly matched teams playing. But Carolina falls. Philadelphia picks up their ninth win in a row. But a lot was said about comments made by wide receiver AJ Brown after the game, post game comments. Asking, what did the team need to work on? He said passing, and it kind of led to some other conversation. Then you had a defensive lineman Brandon Graham make this statement, and I think I got it. Yeah, I got it. He made this statement, his post game presser after the game in regards to what's going on with quarterback Jalen Hurts and wide receiver AJ Brown.
The person that's complaining need to be accountable. And I'm just being honest. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he noticed, I don't know the whole story, but I know that one is trying. And I mean, 11 could be a little better with how he responds to things. And they was friends before this. It's like, man, but things have changed. And I understand that because life happens. But it's the business side that we have to make sure that we don't let the personal get in the way of the business, and that's where we got to do better as right now, because we know it's an issue. Everybody's seeing some things, but we need to be able to talk things out as men. You know what I'm saying? But we need to let personal stuff go and let's get right for this game, because man, it's like a lot of stuff. Most of the time, it's just a conversation that just need to be had. But the person with the problem gotta want to talk to the person other than others. Okay.
Oh my God. Just when I thought Dallas was the only dysfunctional team in my division, Philadelphia, what you got going on there? What you got going on, Philadelphia? The quarterback and the number one receiver are beefing. You hear Brandon Graham here talking about they used to be friends. And this is shocking on several different levels. One, you would think a team that is on a 9-game win streak, looked at as one of the best teams, not only in the NFC, but also in the NFL at this point of the season. Team is looking phenomenal. Team looks to be headed in the right direction, that they're playing winning football 9 games in a row. And the wide receivers complaining about getting touches. I thought the objective was to win the game. And I've been saying it here, and I've been saying it since last season. Jalen Hurts is most successful when he's throwing the ball at max 25 times a game. Did I see somebody else slide up in here unannounced? What's going on, Triggs? Jalen Hurts is his best when he's on throwing the ball about 25 times max a game. Listen, he's not Peyton Manning. He's not a prolific passer of the ball. He's a suitable quarterback. You can win games with Jalen Hurts, and that's what they've been doing. 9 games in a row. Currently sitting right there in the tie for second place in the conference with Minnesota Vikings. Philadelphia, and it depends on who you ask. Some people would say Philadelphia is looking like the best team in NFC. So what is the complaints about? Well, AJ Brown, and I don't want to call it wide receiver diva behavior, but the numbers have been what the numbers are. As you have been on this winning streak, it's not like Jalen Hurts has put up 300-yard games. He's not like he's put up monster stats. This team is done what people like myself and others have said for this team to be successful, you need to have a commitment to running the ball. You have Saquon Barkley, who is firmly in the discussion for MVP, having a fantastic season, could be on pace to break the single season rushing record. And you have AJ Brown after the game making those kind of comments, and then you have Brandon Graham coming out after the fact, putting it out there that, hey, these guys are beefing. How are we beefing? How are you beefing? How are you having any kind of discourse at this time when you're winning games? At the end of the day, AJ Brown, your check still clears. I understand you may have some performance bonuses in your contract, but listen, it's not like you're starving for a meal. It's not like, if you don't get any targets or you don't get any catches, life ends for you. Like, listen, you still want to look at as a number one receiver, still looked at as one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. And stats be damned. And people who understand the game and understand what Philadelphia has going on understands that, hey, since they've turned the offense over, there's no iron team eucalyptus. Listen, when it comes to certain people, and wide receivers tends to be the position that gets a lot of attention when we talk about guys, feeling like they need to be fed and they need the ball in their hands and that kind of stuff. Listen, at the end of the day, it's about W's. It's about wins and losses. You're on a 9-game win streak, and stuff like this can derail what you got going on when you have chemistry problems like this between a quarterback and his wide receiver. And it's been reported that DeVonta Smith is right along with AJ Brown, feeling frustrated in the offense that the Philadelphia Eagles are running. But listen, a lot of us have said you turn the ball over to Saquon Barkley. Saquon is having a monster year. Saquon is having an MVP caliber year. The passing numbers are going to be down. Philadelphia is not an offense that is built to put up a lot of yards on the ground and a lot of yards through there. They have the talent to do it, but that's not the scheme that they're running. It's not when Jalen Hurts is most effective. Jalen Hurts, like I said, is most effective 25 times max a game. That's all you really need from Jalen Hurts. Make life simple for him. He makes the easy reads, and not necessarily the best reads, but he makes the easy reads. Doesn't turn the ball over. And you're leaning heavy on the run game. And teams have to respect the talent that you do have on the outside with AJ Brown and DeVonta Smith, along with Dallas Goedert working up the seam. Teams have to respect that, and it's allowing Saquon to pick up even more yards than he normally would on, let's say, the New York Giants last year when teams were stacking 8 guys in the box. He's not getting those 8 guys in the box because you still have to be cognizant and aware of the talent that they have on the outside. So it's a love-hate thing. I understand it. AJ Brown wants to get the touches. He wants to have 10 catches and 200 yards because he see other receivers. He might be looking over at Ja'Marr Chase, looking at the numbers that he's putting up this year and looking at some of the other wide receivers as far as their numbers and feeling like he's getting left out on the fun. But at the end of the day, look where Ja'Marr Chase is at. As good as Cincinnati's offense has been, they're not going to the playoffs. All those numbers, it looks good. It helps Ja'Marr Chase with his contract, but they're not winning. Those games, those stats are not put up in winning situations. What you're doing in Philadelphia, stick to it. Eucalyptus. Here's the thing. I think the pass game is reliable. Like, I've seen people break down film of Jalen Hurts missing, AJ Brown on some clear, wide open passes. But I mean, it happens. But this is a team that you need to lead on the run game. If you turn this into, I'm trying to satisfy AJ Brown, I'm trying to satisfy DeVonta Smith, and you get away from what's gotten you to this point right now, which is leaning on Saquon Barkley, Philadelphia is going to fail. Philadelphia is going to fail because by putting the ball in Saquon's hands, this one, it helps your defense. The defenses look better week after week after week after week. Why? Because they're not having to be out on the field as much as they were at the beginning of the season because they have a run game, a ball control type offense. And listen, it's not sexy. If you watch the Panthers game against the Eagles, it looked like 2 evenly matched teams. Carolina did some things against Philadelphia that was successful. Same thing with Philadelphia. Philadelphia pulled it out late. Shouldn't have been that close, but give credit to Carolina for coming out there and competing. But Nick, come on, I've been saying it for 2 seasons, and I wouldn't be surprised. And you heard it here first. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to move off of AJ Brown once the season is over. Depending on how the season ends, if this season doesn't end with a Super Bowl for the Philadelphia Eagles, I wouldn't be surprised if they try to market AJ Brown, see what you can get for him as far as draft picks. Listen, this is not a offense that is built on the passing game, chucking the ball all over the field. Listen, AJ Brown wasn't complaining about the touches he was getting last year, and they was losing games. You're winning 9. Listen, I'm a Cowboys fan. I just had to watch my team, lose a game against Cincinnati. Watch my team lose a lot. And listen, I would love to have a 9-game win streak. Any team would love to have a 9-game win streak at any point of the season. And you're playing winning, sustainable football. I don't see what the issue is. Yeah, Jalen Hurts has not put up the monster numbers, but he doesn't have to. He's not asked to throw the ball all over the field. He's not asked to open up the field. And it's passes that he's missing. But Jalen Hurts, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion as an outside observer, I think he's having a much better year than he did last year. I think last year he struggled because they didn't have any semblance of a run game. It was on Jalen Hurts to kind of sling the ball across the field. And yeah, AJ Brown was getting his touches. He wasn't complaining about the passing game or nothing like that last year. He was getting his touches, getting his targets. This season, targets are down. But you're winning. You have an opportunity to not only clinch the division, I want to say in the coming week or so, or you also have an opportunity to, if Detroit slips, and it's a possibility that Detroit could slip, and we'll talk about them in just a second, have an opportunity to be the number 1 seed in the NFC, have home field come through Philadelphia. What is there to complain about? And it's obviously an issue that is starting to affect the rest of the team. Yes, you do have a better offensive line than you did last year. But it's also it's becoming an issue where guys on the team are asked to speak on it, and to hear, Brandon Graham, one of your leaders on the team, to pretty much put out there in public that, hey, the quarterback and the wide receiver are beefing. They're not seeing eye to eye. It's when you put in the words like beefing, it's like, that lets me know it's something deeper than that. And I wouldn't be surprised with, Philadelphia giving Jalen Hurts the money last year, looking to move off AJ Brown. I mean, you have a number 1 receiver still over there, Devontae Smith. Do you really need AJ Brown if he's going to be a headache? I don't know. That's something we're going to be monitoring closely as we kind of finish out the season. But speaking of the Detroit Lions, who won a fantastic game last Thursday, my ass almost missed it up here running my goddamn mouth. But they take care of business, hold off on the Green Bay Packers. Fantastic game. Two very good teams going at it. Kudos to Dan Campbell. For having the guts to go for it on 4th down a couple times, especially on the last drive of the game. I think, a lot of it was made about him going for it on 4th down on that final drive. But you got to understand how the flow of the game was kind of going, especially in the second half of that game. It was kind of like who was going to have the ball last. And as well as Detroit's offense had been, I think you had to kind of, play ball control on that last drive, not give Green Bay any opportunity to go down the field, because Green Bay had been doing their thing in the second half and was able to kind of go up and down the field on Detroit's defense. Defense showed some lapses. Credit to Jordan Love for taking advantage of that, getting the ball to his playmakers. But kudos to Detroit for holding on. Like I said, Dan Campbell, gutsy call there on 4th down, and I understood it. In the moment, it's like, hey, you gotta hold on to the ball. And you saw, and we'll talk about this in another game, another head coach making that same kind of call in the final moments of the 4th quarter. But Detroit still cruising. It's not a done deal for them. Every game kind of matters. Typically, when you see a team reach this point of the season, when they're 11-1, we're talking about them wrapping up the division, wrapping up the conference, and starting to rest guys. But I don't think Detroit's going to be in that position, because the teams that's behind them still have an opportunity to catch them if they slip up in the next couple of weeks. I'm talking about Green Bay, talking about Minnesota, talking about Philadelphia. Those teams are right there closely in the hunt. They're winning their games. Detroit's got to continue to win their games. But kudos to Detroit and Green Bay. It's going to be a factor. I'm going to be looking forward to when the playoffs come, who gets what seeding. If the Packers end up being a wild card, they're going to obviously have to go on the road to play against a division winner. Based on what the seeding may be, I would pick Green Bay over the NFC South division winner. I would pick Green Bay over the NFC West division winner. So Green Bay is going to be a problem. But kudos to Detroit for holding on, winning a very good game. Very good. Listen, I almost missed it. Ooh, Lord, I got to start looking at the schedule beforehand. That's why we may be doing Thursday show tomorrow. Maybe doing that because I can't be missing out, especially when they're putting some pretty good games on the Thursday night, coming down the stretch, games that have some playoff implications. Speaking of games that have some playoff implications, the Rams take care of business at home, hold off the Buffalo Bills in a very wild game. It was entertaining to watch Josh Allen get into his bag. I think he had a fantastic game, but Buffalo's defense, they was getting carved up left and right. And give kudos to Sean McVay. We talked about Dan Campbell going forward on fourth down late in the fourth quarter. Sean McVay did the same thing, understanding that, hey, I have to take this risk. With the way Buffalo's offense was able to kind of move up and down the field, especially middle of the third quarter, going into the fourth quarter, Buffalo was able to kind of put drives together very quickly. Josh Allen was doing his thing, looking like an MVP type player that he's played like this season. And Sean McVay went forward, kept the ball as long as he could, and ended up, getting points out of it, and ended up being a difference in a very big game, a game the Rams needed to win. In the game, the Rams needed to win to not only stay in the wild card race as far as the NFC is concerned, but also to stay in close contact with Seattle Seahawks. So we'll talk about later. And for a chance for that division. Listen, the division is still jumbled up, and it's kind of pick 'em on a weekly basis when we're talking about the NFC West. I think Buffalo I would say bad loss. He lost against a very good team. Rams was one of my teams I had kind of making it to the playoffs at the beginning of the season. Go back and check the game tape. But in conjunction with that, I think Buffalo missed out on the opportunity to keep the pressure up on the Kansas City Chiefs, who we'll just go ahead and just transition to the Chiefs. Listen, man, does Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid have a deal with somebody? Did somebody sell their soul this season for Kansas City to continue to find ways? And it's not like we're grinding out wins. It's to find, like, you have a last second field goal, hit the upright, and most times when it hits the upright, it goes to the left, goes to the right, but it doesn't go through the uprights. And have a last second field goal like that from that distance, to kind of go through against, and you playing and this is a problem you see in Kansas City all year, play to the level of the competition. This is a Raiders team that is obviously playing for pride, playing against a division opponent, but it had no business. When you look at the state of the teams, the records of the teams, and all of that, had no business being in the game with the Kansas City Chiefs. But Kansas City Chiefs, even playing against a Raiders team that is not playing very well, has not played well all season, a team that is looking forward to the draft. At this point, guys are making their offseason vacation plan. For Kansas City to still go out there and have a close competitive game and almost lose, my confidence level with the Kansas City Chiefs, yes, you're 11-1. Yes, you've only lost one time. But anybody that's a Chiefs fan and feels like, man, each week you pick up a win, it builds confidence in this team to be able to do that against some of the better teams in the AFC. I ain't seeing it, man. I just ain't seeing it. I just ain't seeing it. Like I said, Raiders. I might have been. I'm looking ahead. They play the Chargers. I'm looking ahead. Let me just move on. Getting too excited. Too many schedules up. Moving on. Seahawks pull it off on the road against the Cardinals. Seahawks kind of look like they've kind of got their stuff together, playing a lot more consistent football as we come down the stretch. Currently sitting there with a 1-game lead in the division. Listen, division still kind of up in the air. I think the Cardinals have kind of reached their peak. And I hate to say that because they played so well. The team has played hard, but at the end of the day, it comes down to talent. And Cardinals just fall short in a lot of those categories at a lot of positions. I think this team is going to be a lot better next year. But don't count them out. This is a team that plays hard, very well coached team, but just doesn't have it. And Seahawks feel like, to me, they've kind of hit a little bit of a stride the last 3 weeks where they play very consistent football on both sides of the ball. Geno Smith has played well. He's not turned the ball over a whole lot. And this team is finding ways to do it in many different ways, through passing, through the run game. Defenses play played better as we kind of come down the stretch. And the Seahawks, have built confidence. I don't know if I'm picking them next week. I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't know if I'm picking them for next week's game. I'm not sure. Yes, it's kind of like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but they kind of turned the switch on the last couple of weeks and playing very consistent football. But pick up a very big win and a very big win as far as the division is concerned. Give them a little bit of breathing room against the Rams, who are hot on their tail. This time of the year, I think only one team, in my opinion, may come out of this division. So each game coming down the stretch is going to be very important. A lot of division games still left, but kudos to the Seahawks for taking care of business. The Bengals beat the Cowboys. I picked Bengals. Not surprised the boys lost. Not much to really take home from this. Running game has started to kind of come around. Finally, that's about the only positive I can put on for you for Cowboys fans. Is the running game has finally started to come around, but the defense, I felt I was going to have problems playing against Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and that Bengals offense. They did a very good job kind of limiting the damage. Cincinnati was able to put up a lot of yards, but wasn't able to finish a lot of those drives off with touchdowns. But they got the touchdown when they needed it. Cowboys currently sitting at 5-8. I felt like the season was over weeks ago. So I'm not surprised. Tough loss for them. Bengals get a defense next year. We might be having a different conversation about the Cincinnati team. Offenses look good all year long. The defense, leaves a lot to be desired. Speaking of leaving a lot to be desired, can anybody tell me what has happened to the Atlanta Falcons? The Falcons have seemed to have fallen off of a cliff. And currently was at one point sitting at 6-3. Now sitting at 6-7 after losing and getting blown out by the Minnesota Vikings. And listen, it was a game for like a half. Then Atlanta offense stalled out. Kirk Cousins turned into Kirk Cousins. What I've always thought he would be. He's a guy that can get you to the dance. He ain't taking you home though. And I think Atlanta is finding themselves in a position if they lose another game. Tampa Bay continues to win. Tampa Bay's look good. They're trending in the right direction. Atlanta is not. Have we seen the end of Kirk Cousins' tenure this season? I would say this season in Atlanta. Obviously, something needs to change as far as I don't know if it's the play calling. I don't know what it is. I look at a lot of decision makings made by Kirk Cousins, a lot of turnovers in this losing streak. It's not looked good. It's not looked comfortable. It's not looked accurate. And Atlanta has played pretty well in some of these games, but could it be over for they lose? Let's say they lose the next two, fall to 6-9. Yeah, you might want to see. You might get a chance to see Michael Penix this year, first round draft pick out of Washington. You might get a chance to see him out on the field. I know that's not what Atlanta Falcon fans wanted to hear, but Kirk Cousins just don't look right. I don't know if dude's nursing an injury or something like that. You can't really put the fact that he had a ACL injury last year and he's still trying to play through it. I mean, we're 13 games into the season. It's no more, kind of working out the kinks. You either in football shape or you're not. But kudos to the Minnesota Vikings. Sam Darnold had a very good game. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. Could you put them in a conversation for one of the best wide receiver duos in the NFL right now? I mean, we know what Justin Jefferson is on the outside, but I think a lot of people who not watch Jordan Addison, especially them watching when he was at USC, don't understand how good of a wide receiver he really is. I mean, Minnesota has two of them things. When you look at the personnel that Minnesota has on the offensive side of the ball, they match up well with the best teams in the division. Sam Darnold has had a very good year in a contract year. I think he's going to find a way to get paid this offseason, but conversation might need to be had. Does Minnesota have one of the better wide receiver duos in the league? If you look at the last 5 to 6 games so far this season, and Justin Jefferson has been, receiving a lot of double coverage, but Jordan Addison has been going off touchdown after touchdown after touchdown, and he's eating. Minnesota is going to be a very, 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 very tough out for anybody. Very, very tough out for anybody come playoff time. Defense played well in that second half against the Falcons. Falcons, did what they did in the first half. Brian Flores did what he's done all year, make adjustments at half, and shut them boys down and finish off the blowout. Speaking of being blown out, I wouldn't call it a blowout, but probably the end of a very disappointing season for the Jets fans, losing a heartbreaker in overtime to the Miami Dolphins. Excuse me. As the Dolphins kind of keep their slim playoff hopes alive, Jets season is over to officially eliminated from the playoffs. Currently sitting at 3-10. If you're Jets organization, do you keep Aaron Rodgers out there on the field? Let him finish out the rest of the season. I don't see why not. Hell, at this point, I don't see why not. The NFL has been lackluster. I don't know if it's been lackluster to me, Doc. Like I don't know. It's like the games that turn out to be exciting, the games that you don't really see on the national stage. And I think that's one of the beauties of football, especially on the pro level, is it's not like watching college football where you have the Georgias, the Alabamas of the world have a lot more parity in the NFL. Like, of course, you have those teams that well-run organizations like the Steelers, the Chiefs. Those teams are always going to be in playoff contention because they draft well, bring in the right free agents, had the right winning mentality around the organization. Those teams are typically going to be in the conversation when we talk about playoff teams, but it's always going to be a team come out of nowhere, a team that's overachieves or overexceeds the expectations coming into the season. Listen, I don't think anybody had the Minnesota Vikings, especially after losing their starting quarterback, rookie J.J. McCarthy, at the beginning before the season even started. I don't think anybody had Minnesota being 11-2 at this point. It just happens. You look at the Houston Texans, who was everybody's darling last year. C.J. Stroud has hit a sophomore wall. They have not looked good, especially over the last month or so of the season. I mean, but that's the beauty of the NFL. That is the beauty, with the exception of a couple of teams and a couple of organizations, and you got to put it on the organization because sometimes it's not talent, it's just coaching, it's all of that stuff kind of goes into having a winning product out there on the field. For the most part, when you get it right or you start to get it right, the parity, the margin is so slim. Like I said, when you watch Carolina against Philadelphia this past weekend, throw the records out the window. It looked like a very competitive game, just two teams that are have a quote unquote winning mentality. Bryce Young has looked better since coming back from being benched earlier this season. Carolina is finding ways. The defense is playing better. The offense overall is playing better. I mean, but if you watch the game against Philadelphia, I can't really say that Philadelphia played bad. I just think Carolina played that well, had an opportunity to win the game. But that's the beauty of the NFL. We'll talk about college football stuff. We'll get into that a little bit on Friday with the KBK because brackets have come out. I'm not opposed to a playoff system in college football. I just don't believe how they got it set up is the best way to do it. But we'll talk about that more in detail on Friday for the KBK show. Make sure y'all tune in for that. Looking forward to that because I got some baseball stuff in there for my baseball. Just a little bit. Closing out the recap for this past week. Giants lose again. Last second field goal get blocked. Giants. What are you going to do in the draft? That's about the only question I have for the Giants for the rest of the season. What are you going to do in the draft? When you have an opportunity right now with how you looking, and Jaguars picking up a much needed win. In that race for number one, who do you take if you're a Giants? Do you take Cam Ward? Do you take Shedeur Sanders? That's about the only discussion I'm having as far as the Giants are concerned. Moving on from them. Pittsburgh takes care of business, closes out the Browns. Jameis Winston, pretty good game passing the ball, but killer turnovers. And Pittsburgh is slowly but surely interested in that conversation being probably the best team in the AFC. When you look at how well the offense has started to progress slowly, and it's been a slow process since Russell Wilson has taken over as the starter. The offense has gotten more and more explosive as far as the big plays are concerned. Still having problems finishing drives off with touchdowns and then with a lot of field goals. But as long as your defense is playing the way that they're playing and special teams is playing the way that they're playing, and Russell Wilson is not turning the ball over, Pittsburgh is playing very sound football, very balanced team on the offensive side of the ball. And I think Pittsburgh, if I'm not mistaken, they got the Chiefs later on this season. Let me look. What week they got there? Let me peek real quick. Give me just a second. I think they're on their schedule. Let me peek. No, that's not next week. I know it was it week 16. No, that's they got Baltimore. Is it 17? One of these damn weeks. So they got them. Yeah, week 17. Matter of fact, the Christmas game. Christmas game. Steelers at home against the Chiefs. That should be big game. Big game. That'll be on Netflix. So I know a lot of people, have time to tune into that on Christmas. So make sure y'all tune in for that. Like I said, make sure y'all tune in. Probably tomorrow. More than likely be tomorrow. So I don't miss no more Thursday night games. We'll be doing that. And of course, Friday we're doing the KBK show. I'm still working on the rollout for the new year as far as moving over to another streaming service. I'm sick of StreamYard. I am sick of it, but brother don't pay for it, so might as well use it up until the end of the year, and then we'll be moving over to another platform, working on some production as far as that is concerned, trying to give a new look, if nothing else. Try to give a new look, if nothing else. But yeah, KBK show, open panel, open topics. Will be a little bit of basketball, a little bit of baseball, a little bit of football, and just whatever the hell I want to talk about, basically. All right, I think that does. I've done my required 30 minutes. I'm pretty sure some of y'all will go back into I like to call it the land of Oz, wherever that may be. And enjoy your stuff, man. And if I don't see you between now and Christmas, man, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to you and yours, man. Y'all be safe out there. Did you hear about Soto? Listen. We're gonna talk about that on Friday, Dr. Nikki, because I saw the money that he got. Baseball money is going up, but I got a clip from Rex Ryan that I want to play for Friday's show. And then we're gonna tie basketball and football into that conversation in regards to what's going on with baseball as far as players getting paid. And we're gonna talk about that and have that broader discussion, because Rex Ryan said something that I've never thought about. But I want to say that to Friday show. But yeah, definitely. It puts things in perspective once you hear the clip. That I have in regards to Soto signing with the Mets, it puts things in perspective, not just with sports, but puts things in perspective with life in general. But we'll do that on Friday. Make sure y'all tune in for that. Get my behind up out of here. Just remember, man, what they hate in you ain't in them. End you off with the phrase that pays over here. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but every time you learn. And I'm out.